Hi guys, welcome to Science with Kanush. Today I'll be explaining Igcse biology, topic 1 characteristics and classification of living organisms. So without any delay, let's start. So this is syllabus content 1.1, and in 1.1 we covered the characteristics of living organisms and some key definitions which need to be memorized. So let's have a look at the characteristics. There are seven life processes which all living organisms carry out, and these can be memorized as Mrs. Gren, which is movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. Now, movement is an action by which there is a change in position or place. Then we have respiration, which is a metabolic process that occurs in all living cells, and it releases energy, that is ATP, by breakdown of a glucose molecule. Then we have sensitivity, which is the ability to detect and respond to changes in the internal or external environment. For this, I can give a very good example. When you go out on a hot day, you start to sweat, and this is because the body is sensitive and it detects the changes in the temperature, and that's why it responds to it by releasing sweat. Growth, which is permanent increase in size and dry mass. Growth occurs by multiplication of cells, and dry mass is the mass of an organism when all the water has been removed. Reproduction is a process that makes more of the same kind of organism. So organisms can reproduce to produce their offspring. And fertile offspring is produced when organisms from the same species breed. But if organisms from different species breed together, they produce an infertile offspring. Then we have excretion, removal of the waste product of metabolism and substances in excess of requirement. Excretion is different from egestion, which egestion is the removal of undigested food, which is very much different from metabolic waste. Excretion includes organs such as lungs, skin, and kidneys. Now let's move on to the next, which is nutrition. Nutrition is basically taking enough food to get energy to perform several physical and physiological processes. I think this slide is done. Let's move to the next. So this is syllabus content 1.0, in which we learned that how are organisms classified and what are species. We also learn about the binomial system and how to use dichotomous keys and DNA. How does DNA help in classification? So let's have a look at the definition of species. Species is defined as a group of organisms that can reproduce to produce fertile offspring. As I told you, organisms from different species, if they breed together, they produce an infertile offspring, which is known as a hybrid. Now these species can be divided into several different groups by the features that they share. As all mammals, we have body covered in hair, they don't have scales, but reptiles have scales, so that's how they are divided into different groups. Now the binomial system, it is an internationally agreed system in which the name of the organism is made of two parts, starting with the genus, which always starts with a capital letter, and followed by the species, which starts with a lowercase letter. This is the order of classification: kingdom, then comes phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. This can be memorized by the mnemonic King Phillips came over for Grand Spaghettis. King stands for kingdom, Phillips for phylum, came class, over is order, for is family, and Grand is genus, Spaghettis is species. How organisms are classified? Originally, organisms were classified using morphology and anatomy. Morphology is the overall form and the shape of the organism. For example, whether they have wings or they have or the organism has legs. And anatomy is the detailed body structure which is known by the which can be known as the known by the dissection of an organism. Now, as technology is advanced, we have got to know about DNA sequencing, which has helped to classify organisms more at a more scientific approach. So, the more similar the base sequence of two organisms in the DNA, it means they are more closely related. So if the base sequence is very much similar in the DNA, only like one or two bases are different, that means they are very closely related. And the four bases found in DNA are A, C, G, and T. A always pairs with T and C always pairs with G. Now, how to use and create dichotomous key. This is a very important point in the Igcse examination, as dichotomous key usually comes for 3 to 4 mark question, in which a key is given and a number of organisms are given. At start, you need to pick one organism and follow the key and find the name of the organism, and you need to repeat it for all organisms until all the organisms are named. This is the syllabus content 1.3, in which we will be classifying the animal kingdom into the main groups of vertebrates such as mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fishes, and the main group of arthropods, which are mediapods, insects, arachnids, crustaceans. We will also be learning about the plant kingdom. Plant kingdom is divided into two, which is ferns and flowering plants. Flowering plants are further divided into dicotyledon and monocotyledon plants. We'll also be learning about the features of viruses. So let's move on. Now, as I told you, animals are divided into two, vertebrates and invertebrates. Vertebrates are the animals which have a backbone. So vertebrates are divided into 5 groups: reptiles, birds, fishes, mammals, and amphibians. Reptiles have dry, scaly skin and they lay eggs on dry land. They are cold-blooded, and an example could be snake. Birds have feathers and legs. They have beak and they lay eggs. They are warm-blooded. Wren, example could be wren. Now fishes have scales on their bodies. They breathe through gills and not lungs, and they are cold-blooded. Example could be a tuna fish. Then we have mammals. Mammals have fur or hair, and they feed their young ones on milk. They are warm-blooded. Example could be us humans. We have mammals. Then we have amphibians. Amphibians have moist, slimy skin, and they lay eggs in water. They are cold-blooded. Example could be a frog. So let's move on to the invertebrates. So all invertebrates with jointed legs are in the phylum Arthropods, and arthropods are divided into 4 groups: mediapods, insects, crustaceans, and arachnids. Mediapods has many body segments and they have many n number of jointed legs. Example could be centipede or millipede. Then we have insects which have wings, 6 legs, the body is divided into 3 segments, 1 pair of antennae. Example could be a bee. Then we have crustaceans. These are mostly sea creatures and they have many legs, 2 sets of antennae. Example could be a crab. Then arachnids, 8 legs, 2 body parts, and they do not have an antenna. Example could be spider. Now this is the plant kingdom. Plant kingdom is divided into two, ferns and flowering plants. Ferns have leaves called fronds, and ferns do not have flowers. They instead reproduce by spores. Flowering plants reproduce by the means of flowers and seeds. Seeds are produced inside the ovary of a plant. Flowering plants are divided into two, monocots and which have the petals and multiples of 3, and they have leaves with parallel veins, and dicots. Dicots have petals and multiples of 4 or 5, and they have branched leaves. branch veins in the leaves. Now let's move to the last part of this chapter, which is viruses. Viruses are not classified as any system, as they are not considered as living organisms. They use the host cell's metabolic pathways in order to multiply themselves, and they cannot carry out the 7 life processes for themselves. Here comes a fun fact: viral infections cannot be treated by antibiotics, only bacterial infections could be, as viruses do not have a cell wall. So, if you like the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.